Good evening. I'm still getting used to this. I told you guys last time I had a live that I was going to get my assistant to come over and show me how to stream on all the different platforms and how to be able to show you guys the articles and pictures and things like that. And he actually did do that. But your girl got so busy that today was a whirlwind and I forgot everything from 2 weeks ago, but I'm gonna learn it. Next time I do a live, I think I'm gonna see if I can have him over here so he can help me do this stuff because it's just too much. It's overwhelming. So today I have as a topic the migrant crisis is affecting your bottom line. Find out what you can do about it. So that's exactly what we're going to talk about. I'm going to get started by saying that there is actually a legal way to enter this country. People have been doing it for decades. But the issue with it is that it's a long, drawn out process, and people don't want to wait. They want to sneak in the back door. And because of that, we have some grave consequences going on all around. The other thing that I wanted to say is that the US government is not blameless in this whole situation. And I'm not talking about necessarily the current regime, I'm talking about decades and decades ago. Um, the reason why these people are trying to flock over here is because the US government has decimated some of their countries. They have meddled in the affairs of countless countries all over the world. And they've toppled whole governments. They deleted government leaders who weren't about trying to uphold whatever policies the US wanted to have in that country. And all of these natural resources in these countries have been just pillaged by the United States. This is not a blameless country. They're responsible for much of the poverty, the blight, and the corruption in the Central and South American countries, the Caribbean countries, most of the countries in Africa, and beyond that. So, what we're experiencing right now, to some degree, is what I call blowback. This is blowback from all the things that this government, unbeknownst to us and without our permission, has done over the decades. So, wanted to throw that out there. So, now let's talk about what's going on since 20 to 30 million illegal people have flocked over the border. The biggest story, and I'm sure most of you have already heard it, is about the prison gangs of Venezuela that have come over. They emptied out the prisons in Venezuela, and these folks are in Colorado, and not only Colorado, they're all over the place, taking over apartment complexes and just wreaking havoc. I wanted to tell you, for those of you that are younger, this isn't the first time this has happened. It's not. In 1980, and I'm gonna be more specific, so I'm gonna read what I have in the notes. In April 1980, the Castro regime, we're talking about Cuba, and Fidel Castro announced that all Cubans wishing to immigrate to the U.S. are free to board boats at the port of Muriel, west of Havana, launching the Muriel boat lift. The first 125,000 of them landed the very next day, because you all know we're that close to Cuba. As soon as he made the announcement, they jumped on a boat or whatever. In all, 125,000 Cubans fled to U.S. shores in about 1,700 boats, creating large waves of people that overwhelmed the U.S. Coast Guard. The boat lift also began to have a negative political implication for President Jimmy Carter, I remember those days. When it was discovered that a number of exiles had been released from Cuban jails and mental health facilities, many were placed in refugee camps, while others were held in federal prisons to undergo deportation hearings. Of the 125,000 people that came over as refugees who landed in Florida, more than 1,700 of them were jailed, and another 587 were detained until they were deported. Okay, so putting it mildly, I think it was a boss move for Castro and whoever in Venezuela to say, okay, okay, all those people coming across the border, just walking across, high five, and some of them are putting up the finger at people, all of that other stuff. Let me just clean up. There's an article that I saw just yesterday that said that the Venezuelan crime rate has gone down tremendously. Why has it gone down? Because those people are here now. Those people are here. So I'm going to talk about a few stories that I have. Save that for later. Okay, so put a one in the chat if you've seen the videos of Aurora, Colorado from people's Ring cameras where barefaced Venezuelan, supposedly, with scope rifles are breaking into people's homes. Put a one in the chat if you've seen that. If you haven't seen that, you might want to go and look at what's going on in Aurora, California, and it's spreading to Denver and it's spreading to other places also. So here we go. Large groups of armed Venezuelan men believed to be members of the Tren de Aragua prison gang have invaded entire apartment complexes in Aurora, Colorado, which is less than 10 miles from Denver. Denver is a Democratic-run sanctuary city that has a population of 710,000 people. Denver has welcomed over 44,000 illegal aliens over the past 2 years, and many are spilling over into neighboring cities and towns. The armed Venezuelan men have been alleged to have committed kidnapping, human trafficking, that other trafficking, home invasion, robberies, carjackings, and armed robberies of stores, including 3 gun shops. Now I understand why he can walk around barefaced with a scope rifle. A 99-unit apartment house was shut down. A shooter reportedly left one man with life-threatening injuries, while Denver police say that they were not aware of any apartment complexes being taken over by TDA. There are reports of a gang leader from TDA that has given the green light to delete police officers. Can you say invasion? Video footage has emerged of armed criminal alien gang members freely moving about in Colorado apartment complexes in Aurora. The footage adds to the evidence that a violent Venezuelan prison gang, even more hardcore than MS-13, which is the one that we've heard about that's up in the New York area, has taken over the Denver metropolitan area, including Aurora. Speaking with Fox News, Aurora County Councilwoman Danielle Jurinsky said that without a doubt, there has been, trafficking going on in the area thanks to gang presence. This is organized, one of the former apartment dwellers added. They patrol the property with guns visibly, like they're not trying to hide them. There's no repercussions for them. These are ghosts. Former apartment dweller, a woman just made it out of her overtaken apartment building on Wednesday, thanks to one of the Congress people. So I saw some of the footage of this, and I don't know what you all think, but this is only the beginning. Now, you've already heard, I'm not going to go over the ones that we talked about before. We talked about Chicago. We talked about Chicago having an overwhelming amount of people. They're displacing the people that are there, mostly African American people that are there. They're also giving them vouchers for food. They're giving them vouchers for housing. when our veterans are laying in the street. I'm going to stay calm today, guys. I'm going to stay calm. The next story, and this is a financial channel, so we're going to get into some numbers here. Last year, the U.S. taxpayer shelled out some 150 billion with a B dollars in government services and support to help the 20 million illegal immigrants in the country, according to a study from the Federation of American Immigration Reform, or FAIR for short. And most of the cost has been coming from the state and local governments. FAIR included costs for services that include education, medical expenses, law enforcement, legal costs, and welfare in their study. California, why am I not surprised, led the country with expenses of nearly $31 billion to take care of illegal immigrants and their children. Texas followed with more than 13 billion. Florida clocked at more than 8 billion. Then New York and New Jersey. FAIR estimates that in 2023 alone, the cost in state services to account for the illegal migrants and their children in the Bay Area state was closer to 3 billion. In New York, the comptroller estimated that the migrant crisis would cost the state taxpayers 4.3 billion through 2025, and New York City taxpayers 3 billion in fiscal 2024 alone. However, according to FAIR's estimates, the estimated 1.45 million illegal immigrants and children in the state already cost the taxpayers nearly $10 billion in 2023. While most states account for migration expenses focus on emergency housing and aid, FAIR's assessment factored in the full breadth of state services they draw on while in the U.S. Services like education, medical expenses, law enforcement, legal costs, and welfare were prominent factors in FAIR's study. FAIR also included the cost of U.S. born children of illegal immigrants, what they call anchor babies, something many reports don't factor in. And this is a quote by one of the people that's in FAIR. As long as we keep allowing millions of people to come into the country illegally every year, it's obviously going to continue to increase the cost. It seems to be sort of basic common sense. If you're going to be bringing in lots of people, many of them working off books for very low wages, that there are going to be enormous social costs incurred, he added. I was talking to someone just this morning in a conference, and he was perplexed about the government letting all these people in. We were having a discussion about Aurora, Colorado, and he was throwing up his hands and saying, I don't understand. I don't understand why this is going on. So the reason that this is going on is because it's all by design, because this country has the ability and had the ability for some time to stop this from going on. It's obvious that they wanted to go on. I don't know if you guys remember, I did a story that said that 320,000 of these people were flown in on jets from different countries. They were flown in by the current administration. I have here, and maybe one day I'm gonna have the ability to put this up, but it's basically breaking down the top states and how much these states have to pay. So if you're in one of these states, put that in the chat. We talked about California 30.9 billion, Texas 13.4 billion, New York 9.9 billion, Florida 8.03 billion, New Jersey 5.3 billion, Illinois 3.9 billion, Arizona 3.2 billion, North Carolina, which is a surprising one to me, 3.1 billion, Georgia, which is where I am right now, 3.03 billion, Maryland 2.9 billion, Massachusetts also 2.9 billion, Virginia 2.8, Washington, which is Washington State, 2.6 billion, Nevada 1.9 billion, Colorado 1.9 billion, Pennsylvania 1.6 billion, Oregon 1.4 billion, Connecticut 1.3 billion, Michigan, which is my home state, 1.1 billion, and Tennessee 971 million. Those were the top ones that are shelling out all this money. And as the report stated earlier, it's not necessarily coming from the federal government. So it's bleeding our state and local governments. You can't tell me this is all not all by design. So what I have here, by the way, there was a story going around that I remember that in California, there are so many people that are sick of this that they're leaving. And there's a great migration out of California of those that saw the writing on the wall and are still seeing the writing on the wall. And I saw it was like a meme about U-Haul. They ran out of U-Haul trucks because there were so many people that were leaving California. So I actually looked it up, and it's true. I found a story out of San Diego that said fact or fiction. California ran out of U-Haul trucks. A story you may have seen claims so many people are leaving California that U-Haul ran out of trucks in our state. And it says KGTV, a story you may have seen claims so many people are leaving the trucks. They don't have any trucks. Apparently, it's true. U-Haul put out a news release in which it said that California was a state that saw the biggest loss of one-way U-Haul trucks in 2021. In fact, U-Haul says it actually ran out of trucks to rent out there. And now that I think about it, I did see that article because U-Haul was paying people to bring trucks back to California. If you live in California or even any Chicago, any of these places, you might want to be thinking about what you're going to do because this is all by design. And I talked about it and I linked it in one of my videos, but there is an actual plan that was enacted, what was written in 2020, and it's called the Replacement Migration Plan. A solution is it a solution to declining and aging populations? This was put out and by the Population Division of the Department of Economic and Social Affairs of the United Nations Secretariat. This comes from up on high, and they are replacing you. They don't care about you. They have other plans, and other people are walking up on your backs and stepping over you. No matter whether you're black, white, whatever you are, if you're an American, or if you've been living here legally, there are people that are stepping up over your back. So, what are you going to do about it? I'm going to check the chat. England has been putting illegal migrants up in hotels. Yeah, and that's another thing. I'm glad that you brought that up, Celine, because I don't watch the lamestream media, but I know that they're suppressing what's going on in other countries because I know people that watch it. And I talk to them and they're looking at me with big old eyes like, what are you talking about? And I'm saying, these things are happening and they're happening every day. You're watching the wrong news. I'm going to give you all a homework assignment. If you haven't already done this, let me know in the chat if you've already done it. But there's a movie out there. It's a documentary called The Social Dilemma. It was a very well done documentary, basically talking about how our perception of everything that's going on in the world and specifically in our country is being manipulated through these social media platforms. And in the documentary are a lot of people that left working at these places. And they're really explaining how, for example, during the pandemic, I have a really good friend and we were at odds, and we're never at odds. We were at odds about how this should be handled. And come to find out, when I was trying to explain to her, I'm telling her to read this and read that, she couldn't get it to come up on her computer. So I told her exactly what to key in, the exact words as I keyed them in. We're in two different homes, and she wasn't getting that. So it was leading me when I would key in stuff, it would, I guess it's called the algorithm. The algorithm would see that I'm lean more on the conservative side, and it would send me all of the conservative stuff. And then it would send her all the other stuff. So she wasn't aware of all these things that are going on. Right now in England, there was a big problem where some little girls got deleted, and the people in certain cities in the UK, they just went ballistic. They did some things that that they burned some buildings. They did some things. And so we don't know that stuff is going on. They don't want you to know that stuff is going on because we're experiencing the beginnings of what they've been in for years, and they don't want an all-out rebellion in the way that they're doing it over there. There have been so many rebellions that I've seen over there about uh, when the government decides that they want to do something that's going to affect people. Like, for example, they're talking about not allowing the farmers to farm on certain farmland because of what they consider global warming. And these people are like not having it. They took tractors full of cow feces, and you know how you shoot out the whatever that is they shoot out. They were shooting the cow feces out on the houses of the prime, not the prime minister. What do you call those people? The Congress, their version of the Congress. I forgot the name of it. You can put it in the chat. MPs or whatever they are. They were. It's in India. They were literally taking the cars of their leaders and rolling them into the river because I guess their government is near the sea, and these things have been going on. And I've been watching this thing for like a year and a half, and there's just global uproar everywhere. And we've been sitting here watching soap operas and watching, we're just, a lot of people are clueless as to what's going on. We need to start paying attention. So I would suggest that you find some alternative news channels. One of the ones that I watch regularly, it's on from Sunday to Thursday. It's called We Are Change, and it's on YouTube. And I think that they don't like him because his views are going down by the thousand. So he was up to like 700,000. Now they're taking away stuff. Nobody's unsubscribing to this. He gets over 40,000 views a day. What he does is he gets on during the day, and it's maybe 20 minutes at the most, telling what's going on and showing the news stories. So it's not something that is a theory. He has the Wall Street Journal, the New York Post, the Daily Mail, all these different. So if something's going on, he'll say it, and then he knows how to use a computer a lot better than I do. He'll put the story up just for a minute, so you can at least see that it's a real story. You can put it on pause and go track the story, which I do a lot of times, to read the whole story. And that keeps me aware because at this point, with all of the violence that's coming over here, I don't know if you heard of the guy that has been just randomly punching people and knocking them out in New York. It's almost as if he wants to see if he can just punch somebody hard enough to knock them out. He's been knocking people out. Thank you so much, Derek. He says, thank you for consistently giving us important and useful information. May Yah bless your endeavors with him getting all the glory. That's right. That's what I'm here to do. I told somebody the other day, I try to get away from it sometime, but he made me a fighter. And the scripture says the gift and the calling are without repentance, which means I can't run from it. So I might as well embrace it. But yeah, we need to. I'm here to keep you informed about stuff from the financial standpoint. I know there are others out there that talk about the news, and they kind of talk about it from a salacious standpoint. And I know they have a whole bunch more views and stuff, and that's okay. I look over there sometimes to get entertained by whatever's going on, but you really need to know from my heart what's going on, because I'm going to tell you what I'm doing. I'm not telling you anything I'm not doing. Even way back in the day when I found out about the taxes, I was practicing what I preach. That's why they got me. But I'm still going to tell the truth because you need to know the truth. You can't make an informed decision for your life and your family's life if you're doing it off somebody's lie, or somebody has decided that you should only know 20% of what's really going on, or 80%, and that 20% that you don't know is very crucial. So what I would like to do is just keep that going, keep the information coming as it comes. I can't assume that you see all these things because I don't. I don't have television. I have a TV upstairs. It's a smart TV. I would say it comes on maybe once a month, and that's when my granddaughter's here and she might want to watch a little movie, like a Disney movie or whatever. Not those new Disney movies, because we know what's going on there. But I'll watch YouTube every once in a while. It's been a long time since, it's been at least 3 or 4 months since I've seen a Netflix movie. We don't have the time. We just don't have the time. Things are moving too fast for us to sit here and entertain ourselves, for us to debate on whether something is, just petty stuff. We don't have time for that anymore. I'm going to get into now. Let me see a little bit of the chat before we move to what we're going to do about what's going on with the migrants, because there are jobs out there that, do you remember, put one in the chat if you remember when they kept justifying in the earlier day, justifying letting them come over here, saying that they're doing the jobs nobody else will do. And I thought to myself, how long will it be before you all crash this economy to the point where these people will do these jobs? People here that live here, that were born here, that are naturalized here, will do those jobs. And here we are, because people right now, especially men, my heart goes out for men, because men innately want to take care of themselves and their families. They want to take care of their families. But if you've gotten some kind of a if whatever your profession is has to do with hands on things, then a lot of times you've got some severe competition now. So we're having to think more and get our brains together and figure out what we're going to do long term, not just the short term. We got to stop thinking short term. We got to have foresight. So let's see. Okay, yes. Okay, Celine saw the social dilemma. Let me see if I can move this thing. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to talk about what we need to do. First of all, the way I see it, we have two options. And this is how I phrase the options. You can hunker down here in the United States, or you can get out of Dodge. And I'm going to talk about each of those to a degree. And then, of course, you all can ask questions. Actually, give me some thumbs up, because I know that helps the algorithm and all that. People keep telling me, don't forget to tell them to subscribe and like and stuff. And I do, because it's important, but it's not the major thing right now. So let's talk about, if you say to yourself, okay, for whatever reason, and you have your reasons, and I'm okay with them, I'm going to stay here in the States. And I know things are going to get worse, but I'm going to stay here. If that's you, that's fine. These are my suggestions for you. Find a safe place to stay. If that is your home, that is great. What you need to do is you need to stock up. Stock up on things. Make sure you have at least 2 weeks worth of things like food in your house. If you live in a state where it gets pretty cold, you might want to have provisions for your warmth. Now, even though it's not, it gets pretty cold here sometimes. Like in late December, and I'm turning the fan off. In late December and in January, it gets down into the 30s and kind of stays. So I do have a fireplace, and I have firewood. I buy firewood, and I think this year I'm gonna turn over my supply of firewood, just making sure that it's still fresh. Make sure that you have provisions for your family. If it's not your current home, for example, if you're living in an apartment building or a rented home that you feel like you might get kicked out of if something happens, because I've seen situations where during the pandemic, people were renting a house and they were told they had to go because the owner either had to put somebody else in there that was in the family, or they had to come back, or whatever it was. So if you have to go somewhere else, if you have somewhere else in mind, I'm saying make sure that it's close. It needs to be close, because when things get bad, you're not going to be in a position to travel far, like 3 or 4 states over. So make sure it's as close as possible. Have a family plan. Everybody should know where to go in case communications are out. For example, if you have grown children, you all need to sit down and have a discussion about who's going to be where. For example, my children have their own homes on different sides of town. They need to decide whether they're going to try to stay in their homes or stay at my home. If I'm here in the States, when stuff happens, then they can come here, because I'm decently prepared. And if they're not, depends on where they are. I mean, they listen, but sometimes people don't take it as seriously as others. If you have children, small children, or you have grandchildren, who's going to pick them up? If my daughter's at work, she works a long way. If I'm closer to the school, then we talk about me picking her up. Those kinds of things. You don't just leave all that to chance because you don't know what's going to happen. And when it happens, it's going to be too late to be making these kind of plans. It really is. What else I put on here? I have keep cash in small denominations up to 20. I wouldn't keep anything above 20, just in case cash is still usable. You have some cash to get some of the things you need. Practice disaster and stuff hit the fan drills. Practice. Make sure everybody knows what to do. What do you need to do? How do you get out of the house if you're on the second floor and something's going on where you can't go back downstairs? Those kinds of things need to be taken care of. Build your money so you can buy gold, silver, and other barterable items. I think barter is going to be key. I listened to a guy, a lecture, and he talked to people that were over in Kosovo and some other countries when they had disasters. And the question that he posed to them is, what do you wish you had, or what do you wish you had known before it hit? And they were bringing up different things that they wish that they had in their homes, and a lot of it was more barterable items. For example, they brought up cigarettes. But I don't smoke, but there are a lot of people that are addicted to cigarettes. So somebody that smokes, they're going to be able to barter. They might be able to barter their way out of a robbery or something like that. And the last thing I put on here is make alliances with people of like mind. My mentors from afar, they are wealthy people. They've made alliances with other people. They purchase large swaths of land, like 40 acres, making sure that they have water on it and all kind of other stuff going on. And they know who's going to be able to enter these compounds and who is not. And, for the most part, we don't have that kind of a money, and we don't have that kind of association going on, but you can at least start making contact with people of like mind, and the ones that are close to you specifically, so you all may be able to help each other. For example, if they have more body strength, they might be able to do some things like move water drums and those things. But make alliances with people of like mind. Be careful about the people that are around you that you feel like would interfere with what you're doing. Before I go on to the next area, which is if you decide to leave, I'm going to check the chat again. Parliament. Yes, the people in Parliament, those are the ones that they were doing stuff, that the farmers were making sure that they had excrement at their doors and at their front porches, or at least as they came out of their little compounds. Yes. Okay, so I'm going to talk about what I have written down for if people want to leave the country. That's going to be a little bit harder unless you already have been making plans. And that's the first thing. If you're planning to leave the US, you must already be ready before the excrement hits the portable cooling device. You can't decide after something happens that you're going to go, because you won't be able to go, because there's a lot of preparation. I mean, when you can go visit now, and people do that all the time, but you need to be prepared to stay somewhere if that's your plan. And you need to already be planning that if it's your plan to stay somewhere else. So you must already be ready to go before it hits. Contact relatives and friends in those other countries before you go and formulate a plan. So if you have relatives there, you need to let them know that you're coming, and you all need to talk about it. It wouldn't be good if you, like, for example, if you already have land in, let's say, in Jamaica, and your cousins are living on that land, you all need to have a talk, because you don't want to show up there and they're saying, oh no, we don't have room for you and it's your land, but they've been on it. So you don't want all of that kind of stuff like that. It says, let's celebrate their first superstar on live stream. I had a superstar? Okay, I don't know about all that stuff, but thank you, whatever that is. So talk to your friends, talk to your relatives, let them know your plan. Let them know. Say, look, if things get bad here, then I'm planning on, getting over there. So keep my room ready, or I'm gonna pay you, $50 a month to make sure that the dust is out of the house, cover up the furniture, whatever that is. Make sure they know your plan. Get your passport and make sure that it has at least 6 months on it. If you don't have a passport, you really need to get a passport. You just get a passport. My parents, I got them passports, and they're 80 and 81. My granddaughter that just left here, she's 10. She has her passport. As a matter of fact, she went to Costa Rica with me in July, and she's going again with me in October. She needs to know, what's going on. So the rules for passports are different in different countries. You need to at least have 6 months on your passport before you go. I have had a situation with a person that was supposed to be going, and they hadn't checked their passport. Thank goodness. I said, when does your passport expire? It expires in 5 months. We'll be there and back. No, you can't even get into the country if you don't have 6 months on your passport. And I understand why they do that. They know people get in there and sometimes they don't leave when they say they're going to leave and all that. But when my passport gets to the point where it only has 6 months left on it, I go and renew. Some people do that with a year left on it because, the passport for grown folks is 10 years. For my daughter, it's only 5 years, my granddaughter, until she becomes 18. So when she gets 18, then it'll start being 10 years. Get the passport, make sure it has 6 months on it at least. And depending on what country you're going to, check to see what their rules are concerning how much time you need on your passport. Know the rules for residency and citizenship in the place you want to go. Every country has their own rules for citizenship and residency. There are countries that will allow you to become a resident, or a citizen rather, for $1.2 million. Just different things. So if you want to eventually become a resident or a citizen, you become a resident first, and then after 3 to 5 years, depending on the country, then you can get your citizenship. So I know a lot of the people that I'm around have dual citizenship in different places, because they have relatives that were there, or for whatever reason they move in the circles where they know they need at least two passports. They do. And like in places like Costa Rica, they'll let you do what's called border runs. Costa Rica just upped the amount of time that you can stay in that country from 90 days to 180 days. So you can literally go to Costa Rica, you can stay 6 months, you can cross the border into Panama for a day or so, come back and get your passport stamped, and then stay another 6 months. There are people that live in Costa Rica and they have been there 10, 20 years. All they're doing is border runs. They haven't gotten their residency. The danger in that is, like during the pandemic, when they had to leave because they didn't get their residency, they couldn't come back. So once they're and back then it was 90 days. Once their 90 days was up, they had to leave Costa Rica, but they couldn't come back because everything was on lockdown. So people that people that have been in the tropics for years had to go to their hometown, and it was cold, like in Michigan and stuff like that, because they didn't get their residency. Some people decided that they'll take that chance, but just check to see if your country that you are deciding to go to has border runs. Um, Make sure you know how you'll survive without your job. A lot of people have jobs and they haven't created a home-based business, and it's so important for you to create a home-based business because, well, it's important for you to create something that you can do anywhere, what I call a portable business. So if you're brokering goods online, as long as you got internet, you can do that anywhere. I'm a consultant. When I go to Costa Rica, I don't say to my clients, I can't serve you for this 2 weeks. I have Zoom meetings, and I got Starlink, guys. I found out Put a one in the chat if you were with me back in July when I was having all those issues. And I was in Costa Rica trying to do my lives, and I was doing a live. I was trying to do a live every day. And the first day it was worked out. The second day it was kind of grainy, and then I just couldn't get on there. I had one of my assistants come on in the chat and say that I couldn't get on. I was so frustrated. I was almost in tears. Come to find out that although the company that has the internet, it goes up to 100, whatever those are, giga whatever's. In my area, they only had two. And I had to double check. Did you say they only have two? It doesn't go up to 100 in my area. So I ended up getting Elon Musk Starlink. It's there in the box waiting, and when I go back, somebody might have it installed beforehand. I just want to be there to see where they're going to put it. But then I should be able to have great internet. I should be able to do the streams, and all my security cameras should work. So that's going to be excellent. Going back to a home-based business, this is a home-based business. You get a home-based business, make sure that it's something that you can do anywhere. I'm hoping and praying that you all have home-based businesses. You can see me if you don't have a home-based business, but you need a home-based business. And make sure it's something that you can do anywhere, because you can make money anyway. One of the things that I noticed about people that leave the United States is usually the younger people. Sometimes they don't have enough foresight. They leave the country and they have like an online job. They work from home, um, digital nomad kind of job. But that's not enough to sustain you, because what if that job goes away, or they lay you off or whatever? So you've gone over somewhere, you've moved, you've literally moved, you've got a house that you're renting, and you're paying for electricity, you're paying for your internet and all of that, and you're paying rent, and you got to pay for your food and all these things, and it's not that expensive, let's say. But then you lose that job, and if you don't have thousands of dollars saved up, then you're going to end up back home. And I see that a lot, because they're not thinking past, oh, I've got this job teaching English as a second language. Well, that job might go away. That whole company might sell out to another company, and the newer company might already have their people, whatever the thing is. So if you're planning on leaving, what I have down here is make sure that you have multiple streams of income. It's easier when you're on like a Social Security. Um, I don't know how many of you guys know this, but I'll be 62 in November. Not that I'm going to try to draw Social Security, because you really can't, because it's heavily taxed. The more money you make, they'll take it all. Put it like that. So it's not, but if I needed to at some point, after November, if I have to leave here, then I can apply, and if it's available, because it may not be available, it won't be available some years from now, but weigh all your options. Weigh all your options when it comes down to that. You need to know how to get money, know how their banking system works. I know people that live in Panama that they have like a whole mail setup system. They pay in Miami, so they have an office in Miami, and that office in Miami is the one that mails them their information to Panama, so they keep up with what keep up what they're doing. Now, some of them do have the automatic drafts, so you need to figure out, where can I send money? If and open it, can I open a foreign bank account? Can I do that? And if I can do that, what are the requirements of me getting that? And is that going to help me? Will any checks from my pension or anything like that, will I have the ability to put it in there, or do I have to find another route? All these things need to be thought of up front. They need to be thought of up front, because you could be living well if you've set up a system, and especially if you have income, like if you're retired military or anything like that. If you have that money coming into a certain bank, that is, or you can make sure that you have access to it with a debit card. I wouldn't want to lean all the way 100% on that situation. A lot of people do. They have their checks coming into let's say Navy Federal or something like that, and they have a debit card. Well, a lot of times these machines don't work in these foreign countries. So you need somehow having money come straight into your bank account. That. And if you have Social Security, make sure you will have access to it. That one I talked about. So those are mostly the things that I thought about for both if you're going to stay here or if you're going to leave. But what I'm asking you guys to do is make a plan. And don't forget about your homework about watching on Netflix. I think it's still on Netflix, but it should be out there somewhere online, The Social Dilemma. I'm going to see if there's anything else in the chat. I don't think so. Thank you, Elevated Consciousness. I do enjoy doing this. I wish I could do it more often. Um, but I think you understand that on a daily basis, I'm pushing it. I'm pushing it to the limit, trying to get things done that'll make sure that my family's okay. Because I don't like what I see, y'all. I don't like the choices that are up there, but there's a video that how can I get you this video? I think that I'm going to try to somebody was talking about voting and they asked me who I was voting for. And that's one of those dangerous topics. Politics and religion and all that's dangerous topics when you're around people that you don't know. So I politely told them that I don't vote because I feel like changing the players without changing the game is an act in futility. Well, I saw this man, and well, somebody sent me a video. People send me videos all the time. It's about 15 minutes long, but he just nailed it. He nailed the hammer, the nail all the way into the ground with the reasons why it's futile. And I think that I'll try to put that video in the discussion at the bottom. And one of my associates said it was a good video, but it's a Muslim. I don't care if he's Muslim. I don't care if he's Jew. I don't care what he is. He could be from outer space. He told the truth about what's really going on in our country, and that video just really hit it. So, if there are no questions, I want to switch subjects, and I think I talked about the fact that I had the ability to write a book with. Put a one in the chat if you know Myron Golden, the great Myron Golden. He's out there. I would suggest that you devour his YouTube videos. But put a one in the chat if you know who Myron Golden is. I don't see the chat moving. Is it that you guys don't know who he is, or is something wrong over here with me? Because I don't see the chat moving. So, okay, put a 2 in the chat if you don't know who he is. Put a 1 in the chat if you know who Myron Golden is, and if you've listened to him before. Put a 2 in the chat if you have no idea what I'm talking about. Okay. I don't see it moving. I don't know if there's a problem. But anyway, so the book that I wrote with Myron Golden is this is what you call the proof of the book. So it's called Increase Your Income and Reduce Your Taxes: Innovative Strategies for Wealth Creation and Legacy Building. I have a couple of corrections to do on it, but I'm going to probably have it out by the end of the month, and I'll add it to my my website, because you need to know how to make money. And he's like a multimillionaire. I got a chance to speak on stage with him for several years, and he is the one who got me from having 2 jobs at a time. It was a job and a half. So I had a full-time job and a part-time job when I met him, to the very next year, by the end of the year, making 6 figures. And I haven't looked back. So this book, Increase Your Income and Reduce Your Taxes, will be out pretty soon. I wanted I wanted to announce the book. And I'll announce it again when it's actually up, and there's a link for it so that you guys could order it. Because you probably have my other book, How to Stick It to the IRS and How to Escape the Rat Race. And there's a lot of his perspective in this book that'll be good. So you don't know. So another homework assignment for you guys to do. Now, this is a mentor that I know face to face. Some of them I've never met. I call those my mentors from afar. But this is one that I know face to face. And He's the real deal. So go to his YouTube channel. He 2002 in 2021 he had 10,000 subscribers, or 10 or 20,000 subscribers. Now he learned how to utilize YouTube, and now he has over 700,000, I believe, over 700,000. Yeah, you don't know? Okay, all right, that's fine. But now you know. Look up Myron Golden. Just devour. You. A lot of people, you can just get rich by just listening to him, because that's what I did. I listened to him. I joined his program because based on what he was saying, and in the seminar that I went to, I trusted that he could get me to fix six figures, and he sure did. So anyway, but you still, and he's expensive, But what is your life worth? What is your time worth? You want a return on income, but you need a return based on what you know and what you're taught. So school is going to teach you theory. We're teaching you the practical. And that's what you're going to learn in this book: practical ways to increase your income and, of course, reduce your taxes. So I have learned so much here. Yeah, I try to, in the little homework, I try to give you stuff that I know is going to help you, regardless of whether you have a budget for things or not. There are things that you can do, because you can make money in your using what you already have, using your talent. You have some kind of talent, and I always say that. Don't ever think you don't have a talent. I've talked to people and say, I don't know how to do anything. Yes, you do. We just got to get it out of you. Everybody has something to offer to the marketplace. So I'm going to go, because I have a 9 o'clock meeting, and I want to do a little prep before it. And I'll try to do on Fridays, at least until I can get more consistent. But know that I'm preparing, know that I'm learning new things to get back with you guys about, and know that something's coming. I know you feel the shift in the atmosphere like I do. So don't lose the opportunity to get started now, or continue on with what you're doing right now, so that you won't be caught up in the rat race. You all have a great weekend. Bye bye.